Yeah, very good morning students. Today we are going to discuss about a new chapter from botany. It is nothing but morphology of flowering plants. First of all, you should know what is meant by morphology. It is a branch of biology which deals with external characteristics of living organisms. So in this chapter we are going to discuss exclusively external characteristics of flowering plants. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about a subtopic. It is nothing but the flower. In this flower we are going to discuss number of characteristics. Let us see one by one. Okay. First of all, what is meant by flower? Flower is a modified shoot and it is a reproductive organ in plants. What kind of reproduction? It is a sexual reproductive part in a flowering plants. Generally, this flower consisting many characteristics, and there are different kinds of parts can be seen in a flower. Those are four in kind, and all these four kinds of parts as follows. The first one is calyx, the second one is corolla, and the third one is androecium, and the fourth one is gynoecium. All these four parts are arranged on a swollen part. It is nothing but called as thalamus. It is also called as pedicel. So at the end of the stalk there is a swollen part. The swollen part is called here thalamus. You can see in the diagram here the swollen part is called thalamus. On the thalamus there are four different kinds of parts are present. Those are arranged in different kinds of rings or orals. So these are different parts of the flower, and calyx is the outermost part. You can see here these green color parts. This is nothing but calyx, outermost part, and from outside the second part, in a second ring, there is a one more part. It is called as corolla. Next, from outside in a third oral, the fourth part is called stamens. These are the stamens you can see. Next, at the same time, from outside, the innermost part is called carpel or pistil. So these are the different parts in a flower. Next, here I would like to tell you the very important part. Calyx and corolla, these two are generally called in a flower or accessory parts, and androecium consisting stamens, gynoecium consisting carpels, together called as reproductive parts. So flower is a kind of unit which consisting all these different kinds of parts. Then I would like to tell you one more important example here. Calyx and corolla, these two are not differentiated into two parts. Those two together present in some flowers called as perianth. Example, lily flowers. So in lily flowers we can't see calyx separately, corolla separately. They together present, named as perianth. Next, one more important point. Here you can see all the four parts are present in this flower. Here you can see the model of the flower. So outer one is calyx, inner one is corolla, next followed by androecium and gynoecium. So in this flower, both male and female reproductive parts are present. The male reproductive part is nothing but androecium, which consisting number of stamens, and next the female reproductive part is nothing but gynoecium, which consisting carpels. So this flower has both male and female reproductive parts, named as bisexual flower. You can take example hibiscus. Hibiscus is the example for bisexual flower. At the same time, you can see some flowers which consisting only stamens or which consisting only carpels. Both together won't present in some flowers. Either stamens are present or only carpels are present. Such kind of flowers are called as unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers you can see in the nature in many plants like papaya and date palms. These are all different examples for unisexual flowers. As I told you, example for bisexual flower, hibiscus or China rose and pea, beans, all these are example for bisexual flowers. Next, another important concept I am going to continue here. Symmetry. What is meant by symmetry? This is an important topic in PUC board level for examination, theory examinations. And symmetry means the arrangement of an organism, either plant or animal. It shows different kinds of variations in arrangement pattern. What are those? Generally in plants there are three. The first one is here, you can see actinomorphic arrangement. The second one is zygomorphic arrangement. Actinomorphic arrangement is nothing but it is radial symmetry, and zygomorphic it is nothing but bilateral symmetry. Here you can see the diagrams. I have drawn some diagrams for actinomorphic arrangement or pattern of a flower. What is meant by actinomorphic arrangement of flowers? If you pass one radial plane through the center portion of the flower, here you can see this is the center portion of the flower, and these are all petals. This is the center portion of the flower. If you pass a radial plane through the center portion like that, you can see my diagram when I am drawing here, and the flower can be divided into two equal halves. The flower can be divided into two equal halves. You can pass one plane in this way, vertically or horizontally or diagonally, whatever the way you want to pass, and you can cut. The flower can be divided into two equal halves. That kind of symmetry is nothing but called as radial symmetry, can be seen in actinomorphic nature. Understood? Examples: datura, mustard, chili, etc. Textbook examples. Next, zygomorphic nature, bilateral symmetry. You can see here the diagram which I have drawn here. The flower can be divided into two equal halves through one particular direction only. If you pass one radial plane through the center portion of the flower, this is the center portion of the flower can be divided into two equal halves through one particular direction only, through one particular cut only. So it is opposite to actinomorphic. It can't be divided into two equal halves. However we cut, however we pass the radial plane through the center portion of the flower, exactly through one particular plane only, we can pass one radial plane through the center portion of the flower, then only it can divide it into two equal halves. That kind of symmetry is called as bilateral. Bi means here two, lateral means either sides. Either sides are equal in position. When they are equal in position, when we pass one central portion, one central line, through that passing only, the flower can be divided into two equal halves. And apart from that plane, apart from the direction, if you want to cut, it won't be divided into two equal halves. Example: pea, gulbahar, beans, cassia, etc. These are all examples for zygomorphic or bilateral symmetry. Next, asymmetric. What is this asymmetric? So here students, this is very important, unique point, can be seen in a flower called as karna. So if you pass a plane through the center portion of the flower in any direction, whatever the direction, either vertically, horizontally, diagonally, it can't divide, it cannot be divided into two equal halves. That nature can be seen in a flower karna. The phenomenon is called as asymmetric nature. So these are the different kinds of arrangements of flowers, can be seen in different kinds of flowers. Next, one more important point. Next, I would like to discuss with you. A flower may be trimerous or tetramerous or petramerous. What is this trimerous, tetramerous and petramerous and the polymerous, etc. Trimerous. Okay, I will show you here. There are 5. First of all, I will separate this model. You can see this one. These are all the sepals, right? So, if the sepals are 3 in position, 3 in number, it means 3 sepals, 3 petals and 3 stamens. So, all are 3 in number. 3 sepals. These are the sepals. At the same time, here you can see these are the petals. 3 petals are there in number and 3 stamens and 3 carpels are present. Such kind of flowers are called as trimerous flowers. Next, what is meant by tetramerous? Here you can see exactly this flower model only. 4 sepals, 4 petals, 4 stamens and 4 carpels are present. All the 4 parts are 4 in number in each. So such kind of flowers are called as tetramerous flowers. Next, pentamerous flowers. What is meant by pentamerous flowers? You can see here one pentamerous flower, Vincarosia. This flower scientific name is Vincarosia, hibiscus, etc. Those flowers consisting 5 sepals, 5 petals, 5 stamens and 5 carpels within it. Such kind of flowers are called as pentamerous flowers. Next, polymerous. Poly means here many. So there are some flowers like marigold, sunflower, lotus, etc. In all these flowers you can able to see more than 5 sepals, petals, stamens and carpels are present. Such kind of flowers are called as polymerous flowers. Next, one more important point here to be discussed. A modified part in a flower, it is nothing but bract. Bract is nothing but a modified leaf. Here you can see the flowers and leaves. So this leaf is modifying into bract. So if bracts are present at the base of the flower, the condition is called as bractate. Suppose if the bracts are absent in this flower at the base, and that kind of nature is called as ebractate, opposite, bractate and ebractate. So bract is a modified leaf in a plant. If the bracts are present, that nature is called as bractate. They are very tiny structures. Here you can see bract example, you can see even in hibiscus flower also you can see bracts. If the bracts are absent, then the nature is called as ebractate. Understood? Next, based on the position, we are coming to this diagram which is there on the screen. Based on the position of floral parts on the thalamus. As I told you, thalamus is a swollen part which is present at the end of the stalk or pedicel. Understand? It's a swollen part like this, bulging part. On the thalamus, all the 4 parts are presented in different rings, in different orals. What are those? Like calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So based on the position of calyx, corolla and attached androecium and even with respect to ovary on the thalamus. With respect to ovary on the thalamus. Here you can see calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. They are present on the thalamus. With respect to the position of ovary, they are divided into 3 categories. Hypogynous, here you can see the first one, second one perigynous and third one epigynous. Okay, now let us see the first one. What is meant by hypogynous? Here you can see the first diagram, hypogynous. Ovary position is present on the thalamus and rest of the parts, what are those? Calyx, corolla, androecium are present below the ovary. They are present below the ovary. Understood? You can see in this diagram very clearly. Such kind of gynoecium is called as hypogynoecium, or the nature is called as hypogynous. The ovary is called as superior ovary. The ovary is called as superior ovary. Why it is called as superior? It is high in position, top in position than the other 3 parts. That's what is called as superior ovary. Then who are inferior, who are present at the bottom? Calyx, corolla and androecium. And this nature can be seen in the flowers like mustard, china rose, brinjal. Next, B diagram and C diagram. This B diagram and C diagram, they are representing pedicynous. The nature is called as pedicynous. So what is meant by pedicynous or pedicynous? If you see in this diagram, the ovary position is at the lower side or below in position, and rest of the parts, what are the rest of the parts? Calyx, corolla and androecium. They are exactly at the top of the ovary, above of the ovary. So ovary position is below here and rest of the floral parts position is above. So here we can see this kind of gynoecium is nothing but pedicynous. The phenomenon is called as pedicynous, and that kind of ovary is called as half inferior ovary. That kind of ovary is called as half inferior ovary. Okay, half inferior ovary can be seen. What are the different examples? Plum, peach, rose, etc. These are all examples for half inferior ovary. It is not completely superior, it is not completely inferior. It is half in position, middle in position. That's what is called as half inferior ovary. Understood? Okay, next. Let us move to the last one, epigynoecium. The nature is called as epigynous nature. So what is this kind of nature? So here you can see exactly the ovary is enclosed or closed by the calyx at the rim. What is meant by rim? It is almost all at the end position. The rest of the floral parts. What are the rest of the floral parts? You can see in this third diagram, calyx and corolla and next androecium. They are present completely at the rim of the ovary. So the ovary is completely enclosed by the thalamus. Here you can see this is the thalamus. Here this is ovary, completely enclosed, covered by the thalamus region. So this kind of phenomenon is called as epigynoecium, and the nature is epigynous, and the ovary is nothing but here called as inferior ovary. And inferior ovary means so completely the ovary position is at lower side, bottom side. Generally we are calling superior, he is my superior, he is my inferior, like that. So here inferior means nothing but the ovary position is completely at the bottom, at the low. That's why it is called as inferior ovary. So epi, the word meaning of epi means up. Gynoecium means nothing but the gynoecium is completely situated in the enclosure part of the thalamus, and the rest of the floral parts are present at the rim of the gynoecium. So here you can see in this one, in this diagram very clearly, this kind of nature can be seen in some flowers such as guava, cucumber and rare florets of sunflower. In all these three plants, we can able to see inferior ovary, or the gynoecium is epigynoecium. The phenomenon is epigynous. Next, students, I would like to say one more important thing. Continuation to this topic is nothing but parts of the flower. So, what are the different kinds of the flower parts are present in a flower? As we discussed just now, the outermost part is calyx, and in the second ring, corolla, which consisting petals. Next, androecium, which consisting stamens. Inside the last part is nothing but gynoecium, which consisting carpels. So these are the different parts in a flower arranged in different rings or whorls from outside to inside. Okay, now first I would like to explain about calyx. So the first outermost part is nothing but calyx. Have you seen here calyx? Calyx is there in my hand. So could you able to guess the color of this calyx? It is green in color, and the function of the calyx is nothing but protecting the remaining floral parts when the flower is in a bud stage. When the flower is in a bud stage, the protection function is performing by the calyx. Understood? The rest of the floral parts are present inside the enclosed part of the calyx. Have you seen rose bud, how it is when it is in bud stage? It is just like a green bud. It will be like in a cone shape, bud in bud shape, and inside completely the corolla, androecium, gynoecium all are situated inside. So the outer portion, the enclosed green color appendage is nothing but called as calyx. Understood? Then here, one more important point. Apart from this protection duty, calyx shows one extraordinary character. What is that? The sepals, it means sepals are individual ones which are present in the calyx. So these sepals are free in some flowers and united in some flowers. If sepals are free, that nature is called as gamosepalous. Here you can see, this is one sepal, this is another sepal. So if the sepals are free, that nature is called as gamosepalous. You can see gamosepalous nature in many flowers, like in rose, etc. Next, if the sepals are united or fused, that nature is nothing but called as polysepalous. This polysepalous nature you can see in datura flower. Have you seen datura flower? The calyx is completely present just like a cone and tubular, and the sepals are completely united and forming as a one single protective unit. It is nothing but called as calyx. That phenomenon is called as polysepalous. Understood? Now coming to next second part, corolla from outside. We are taking consideration from outside to inside. So in that order, the second one is nothing but corolla. Understood? So corolla here having specific characteristics. Here you can see in the screen, corolla. It is attractive in nature, bright in nature for attracting the insects for pollination purpose. It also has a distinct characteristics emitting of different kinds of fragrances. This is also for attracting insects and other agents for pollination purpose. So here pollination duty or function is performing or helping by whom? Corolla. By attracting agents, insects or animals or wind or water, etc. But the characteristics of this corolla is nothing but consisting different kinds of petals. These petals are bright in color and emitting different kinds of fragrances for the process of pollination. And one more important point I would like to bring to your notice regarding this corolla. Corolla consisting different kinds of petals. As I am showing you now, this is one petal, right? This petal is free. Here in this Vincarugia flower which I showed you now, in this flower also petals are free, right? If the petals are free, and that nature is nothing but called as gamopetalous. What is meant by gamopetalous? If the petals are free, then the nature is nothing but called as gamopetalous. And next, another important, if the petals are united presented together as one bunch, like in datura, you can see datura flower. In datura flower, all the petals are together present and like a long tubular structure, and it is also attracting the insects for the purpose of pollination. Then the nature is called as gamopetalous. So here the petals are united presented as a long bunch to attract the insect for the purpose of pollination. Next, one more important here I would like to tell you, these are in different shapes. These petals are present in different shapes. Some are in wheel shaped, some are in funnel shaped, some are in tubular shaped, some are in bell shaped. So different kinds of petals are present. What are those different kinds of shapes of the petals? Wheel shaped, funnel shaped, tubular shaped, etc. Next, one more important next concept I am going to explain here, estivation. What is meant by estivation? The mode of arrangement of sepals or petals known as estivation. So here you can see there are four kinds of estivations are present. One is valvate, second one is twisted, third one is imbricate, and fourth one is vexillary. Students, on the screen you can able to see the diagram valvate estivation. What is meant by estivation? As I told you, the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals known as estivation. Okay, now let us see the first one, valvate estivation. Okay, in this valvate estivation, either sepals or petals are arranged side by side without touching with each other. Without touching with each other, that kind of arrangement of estivation is called as valvate estivation. They are present just side by side. You can see in this diagram. So here five sepals or petals are present. They are present side by side without overlapping on another or without touching on another. So they are just presented, just they lie side by side without overlapping or without touching with other sepals or petals. That kind of estivation is called as valvate estivation. Valvate estivation can be seen in the flower calotropes. So what is the example for valvate estivation? Calotropes. Next, the second one I am going to explain, twisted. Here you can see on the screen, twisted. There are five sepals or petals are presented. One sepal or pistil is enclosed or overlapping the next one, the side one. Suppose this is, you assume this one. This is one sepal. This is another sepal. So like this, they are overlapping. So on one, the another one is present. So this nature is nothing but represented by the twisted estivation. Twisted estivation, overlapping of sepals or petals one on another. Examples can be seen in China rose, lady's finger, cotton, etc. So what are the examples for twisted estivation? China rose. Next, lady's finger, cotton. Next, the third one, imbricate. In this imbricate, you can see one interesting characteristic. So here you can see on the screen, there are five sepals or petals are present. One sepal or petal are completely outside. Then, if you see the top posterior side of the petal or sepal is completely inside. Then rest of the three, they are overlapping each other. So one petal or sepal is completely outside, one sepal or petal is completely inside, both the sides, three are overlapping with each other. This kind of estivation is called as imbricate. Imbricate estivation can be seen in some flowers like cassia and gulmohar. What are the examples for imbricate estivation? Cassia and gulmohar. Next, one more interesting, the last one is vexillary. This is very important for competitive part, like for NEET and KCET examinations, because it is having one specific characteristic, students. What is the specific characteristic can be seen in this vexillary, or this vexillary estivation is also called as papilnaceous estivation. Generally, it can be seen in the papilnaceous family. It is an old name, and then the latest name is called as Fabaceae. Examples, pea and beans, etc. In this pea flowers and beans flowers, you can able to see three different kinds of petals. Here you can see three different kinds of petals. What are the three different kinds of petals? Why it is so specific? Because it is exhibiting one interesting characteristic for attracting insects for the purpose of pollination. And the largest petal is present. The largest petal is present at the top of the flower. You can see in this diagram on the screen, the largest petal is presented. The largest petal which is presented at the posterior side. Posterior side means top. The largest petal which is presented at the posterior side is nothing but called as standard petal. Next, either sides there are two medium-sized petals are presented like wings. Either sides, hence are presented either sides like wings. They are called as wing petals. How many in number? 2 in number, right? Next, at the bottom side, at anterior side, there are two small petals are presented. Those are nothing but called as keel petals. So these keel petals can be attached at one point at the anterior side. So you can see like this 3 kinds of different shapes, sizes of petals in pea flowers and bean flowers. So these are the 3 different kinds of petals can be seen in a estivation called as vexillary, or it is also called as Leguminosae estivation, in which family you could able to see old name Leguminosae and the new name is Fabaceae. So these are the 4 kinds of estivations can be seen in different kinds of flowers. So students, so in this class I am going to explain one more important last concept. It is nothing but androecium, the third part of the flower. Okay, androecium. What is meant by androecium? Androecium composed of different kinds of stamens, different number of stamens to be frank. Each stamen has one specific characteristic. This stamen is a male reproductive part. As I told you, androecium and gynoecium, these two are reproductive parts in a flower, and calyx and corolla, these are accessory parts in a flower. So this androecium consisting stamens, this stamen has some specific parts. It has a long stalk. See here in this one, it is a long stalk-like structure. This is long stalk-like structure. This long stalk-like structure is nothing but called as filament. At the top or at the end of the filament, there is a swollen structure or bulged structure. It is nothing but called as anther. See, this is one anther. So this anther has 2 lobes. Here you can see 2 lobes, right? Which is vertically present. You can see this anther, no? This anther has how many lobes? 2 lobes. Like this, side by side. One side, one lobe, another side, another lobe. 2 lobes are presented. This nature is called as bilobed anther. Bilobed nature. So here generally, this one more interesting thing. There are pollen grains. These pollen grains are represented in male gametes. These male gametes are producing in this anther only, in a specific part called as pollen sacs. There are specific parts are present in the anther. Those are called as pollen sacs. In those pollen sacs only pollen grains are producing. I think you remember the second chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In that you have seen young anther of a flowering plant, right? So in that young anther you have seen pollen sacs, no? In those pollen sacs only these pollen